What's up, buddy?
Turning the Clover, second tractor trailer of the morning, going up the hill.
On the curve, right? What did I tell you?
Madman Art Marion and his producer John Sibley start work so early in the morning, it's basically my bedtime out in California. The company's called Total Traffic and Weather Network. It's part of iHeartRadio. And here they produce traffic reports for cities all over the Southeast.
So in one building, they do traffic reports for 55 different radio stations and
22 cities.
22 cities.
29 reporters.
29 reporters. One building.
Yeah, traffic reports are still a thing.
And of those 55, 7 of them are right here in Atlanta.
Good morning. Getting started with the Thursday morning ride.
It's easy to focus on the performance of doing a traffic report, grabbing the mic and talking. The harder part, getting reliable information to pass along.
One of the most important sources, of course, are all the cameras. Now, Total Traffic has 4 of them. Georgia DOT has like 1,800. 1,300 of them in Metro Atlanta.
But traffic cameras are just the start.
Something, say, behind the camera. We'll speak to the DOT. The DOT will turn and point the cameras for us.
Today, making the case.
What kind of a person takes a perfectly good morning and drives into Atlanta?
For relying on humans.
Check out those roads.
Instead of just your phone.
Excuses this time, but they have run really late on road work.
Especially when traffic gets a little hot.
And I get a call, the interstate's on fire. What?
And now the pioneers of traffic reporting.
Tons of phone calls, police departments, tow companies to try to find out what was going on.
Did the job without cameras.
I've got Waze, I've got Google Maps. I don't need a radio traffic report anymore. Yeah, you do. Come inside.
Half a century ago, want to know the traffic? You got to go up and see it for yourself.
My father was the first uniformed police helicopter traffic reporter in the country.
We're over the river here at the moment, the Ohio, that is. Looking
Cincinnati, WLW radio. You know, he pioneered it. I started flying when I was 4 years old.
town area of Cincinnati. Things in pretty fair shape at the moment. We had
On more than one occasion, he actually he put down on the ground and got out and stopped cars.
Earth to Bruce Wayne.
And not just Cincinnati.
Howdy do, Ron.
How you doing this afternoon, Bruce?
Lots of big stations like KFI in Los Angeles use the business radio to communicate with pilots.
I know it's plenty cooler. How are the folks on the way home doing?
They're kind of bunched up here in a few spots.
During a song, the disc jockey would coordinate with the pilot to plan out their traffic break coming up.
My NQ to you will be, how does that tie up on the San Diego freeway look now?
Sounds good.
Traffic reports in the 80s where you were absolutely dependent on that eye in the sky. Here in Atlanta, we had Captain Herb and Keith Cowan.
But only the big radio stations could afford aircraft. The little guys, they'd fake it.
Traffic today is light to heavy.
We listened to WOR and WCBS, the 2 stations in the market that had their own helicopters. And
Bernie Wagenblast was in New York City radio in the late 1970s, and she tells me out of desperation they'd tune into the big radio stations that made a lot of money, hear their traffic report, and then just say the same information on their small station that they worked at. And that created a business opportunity for a guy named Mike Lynette, who already was a bit of a traffic buff.
And he started sharing traffic information among CBers. And his handle on CB, because people didn't use their real names, was the Silver Shadow. And he realized that, hey, maybe there's an opportunity for a business here.
And then one day it kind of hits Lynette. Why am I giving this away for free on CB radio when I could be selling this to real radio stations? Each of them pays me a little bit of money, then I have a lot of money, and I can lease helicopters and hire a big team of people.
Focus resources on gathering traffic much more than any one station could on their own.
And Shadow Traffic was born.
This is Susan Murphy with WNEW Shadow Traffic.
All right, it's 3 before 7 o'clock in the morning. It's time for Shadow Traffic. Good morning, Val.
Well, good morning, guys.
I'm Nancy Remy in the RE system for Z100 Shadow Traffic.
WNBC Shadow Traffic on the inbound George Washington Bridge ramp.
The Holland Tunnel system. That's the Z100 Shadow Traffic and Transit Report.
And I was fortunate enough to be one of the original traffic reporters for Shadow in New York.
Hey, Al Bandito, Fred Feldman, Shadow Traffic for you. And
we had airplanes 2 or 3 in New Jersey, 1 in the Hudson Valley, 1 or 2 over Long Island. We had spotters with binoculars atop the World Trade Center in the Empire State Building, drivers who were on the roads looking for delays, tons of phone calls to police departments, tow companies, you name it, to try to find out what was going on.
All reporting back to this New Jersey office building.
There were probably about 6 reporters, and the studios were in a U shape around two producers, one focused on the city, another focused on the suburbs, inputting the information. We used a very crude Radio Shack computer, and we had dumb terminals inside each of the studios, and we would write down that information. We had acetate sheets with grease pencils, so the sheet had all of the major highways on it. We had our own shorthand. The computer screens far less sophisticated than what you see today, so to be able to fit the information on the screen, we had our own abbreviations. BTB would be bumper to bumper as an example. And our one secret weapon was something called the shadow box.
So you used to need a license to broadcast on the Citizens Band, but in the 1970s, the FCC got rid of that rule, and so everybody was buying CB radios and mounting them in their car and talking to other drivers like it was 1970 social media, and it was a great way to find out traffic information because you could talk to truckers in the 5 miles around you, find out why you're stopped. The problem is CB radio doesn't go that far, and when you're trying to use a CB radio from an office building in New Jersey, well, great, I know what's going on in New Jersey, but what's happening on Long Island? What's happening up in Connecticut?
With a touch-tone phone, you could dial into this CB radio, not only to listen, but also to transmit, so you could ask questions, particularly of the truckers.
I can't find any pictures inside the box, but I'm imagining you mount a case to a pole, you put a CB radio inside, you mount an antenna on top, you have some sort of telephone that you've cannibalized, that you go into the mic jack there, and then you run your phone line up to that cannibalized telephone, and it kind of reminds me of like a 1990s modem.
Shadow partnered with Getty Oil to install their shadow boxes at their stations. Shadow's traffic reporters became local celebrities, even bigger than the DJs, because you could hear a traffic reporter on several stations instead of just one. But that meant having to really juggle the schedule to make sure you could squeeze all the reports in.
And how's our commute right now, Mike?
Trying to get better on the northbound 5.
And have to hurry and get out and get over to the next station.
Traffic every 10 minutes. Here's Mike Nolan, KFI in the sky.
Hey, good morning, Tracy. Terry Ray. Minimal flowing really here on the westbound Pomona Freeway.
Which works fine until the station starts running behind.
When the host gets on a tangent, everybody turns the radio up. Ratings. And now those producers are having to make up time, and then that cuts into us.
Many of the reports today are pre-recorded, but at that time, everything was live. And you quickly learned how to get out of a report if you had another one that was coming up and the jock was wanting to talk a bit, and sometimes they were late getting to you, and you would have to dump the report before they even went to you, and that taught the DJ that they have to be on time or they're going to end up with dead air.
Shadow made its money by selling commercials, either in the traffic report itself or someplace in the radio station schedule near the traffic report.
This report sponsored by Maxwell House Columbian Supreme. Columbian Supreme is one of...
By buying Shadow, you got on all of the stations at a far lower rate than you would if you tried to buy the time on each of the stations individually.
And that business was lucrative enough, a competitor showed up, Metro Traffic Control.
I'm Steve Dallas from the Metro Traffic Control Center.
Bob Grant! I'm Joe Nolan, Metro Traffic Control on PLJ.
The two companies became fierce competitors.
Joe Myra, Metro Traffic Control on PLJ Power 95.
PLJ Power 95. For the team members looking down from above, there's kind of a glitz and glamour to being an airborne reporter. It's also very risky.
Thank you very much, Joy.
In 1986, WNBC's Jane Dornacker and her pilot swam to safety after their helicopter crashed.
The traffic not too bad. We have a...
Oh, and then later that summer, KFI's Bruce Wayne crashed. He didn't survive. And that fall, Jane Dornacker crashed again.
This time she said, hit the water.
And that time it got her. 1986 was a bad year for airborne traffic reporters. 6 crashes, 6 fatalities, making it the worst year in the history of this profession.
The 1990s really changed the traffic business when Westwood One came in and gobbled up both shadow traffic and metro traffic.
And you could have seen the faces on the reporters and the staff just drop. Their blood competitor now was going to be a partner, and they were going to be co-located in the same studios.
The merged company eventually turned into Total Traffic, and they have offices all over the country, including Atlanta.
Today's radio business is more pre-recorded than ever. Just a reality of a shrinking audience and fewer owners owning more stations each. And traffic reports are absolutely pre-recorded.
It's assigned a place up in the cloud, and it goes there, and then they just pull it down.
It hit at 9:47. Well, you see where that report went up at 9:44.
Good morning on that commute coming down.
But pre-recording offers a weird flexibility, which might not be that bad. The team can focus less on the clock and more on the reporting part of traffic reporting.
Polite and proper is the way to get the most information.
Like building relationships with sources at police departments.
They know what we need. We're not sitting there trying to, okay, so how many bodies involved in this? We're just trying to confirm, is it there and is it blocking traffic?
As well as cultivating tips from listeners, people who call in, text or tweet, even just watching the traffic on Google Maps. John cultivates all this information and puts it into a database.
They're still rigging on that truck. The back doors blew out. So they got to figure out how to secure the load before they shut down the ramp to lift it.
A job showing no two commutes are ever exactly the same.
Yeah. It blew the back doors out?
Mm-hmm. On the camera, because the load shifted, went out the back door.
Even if each morning rhymes a little bit.
You see the same accidents in the same place under the same conditions for the same reasons.
Pre-recording also lets this Atlanta-based team do traffic reports for smaller cities nearby.
Memorial Parkway at 565. From the traffic center, I'm John Sibley. Huntsville's my weird one. It's 21 seconds.
Yeaman, and I thought that's Yeoman, because it's a seaport city, and I thought, oh, Yeoman. It's Yemen.
When Art picked up Charleston as one of his cities, he took a trip there for a week, so he could report on it like it was his own town.
This is the biggest interchange in Charleston, 26 and 526. That is known as the interchange. This is called the Crosstown, but its real name is the Septima something Clark Expressway or Freeway. Nobody calls it that.
Waze or Google Maps can tell you there's an overturned truck, but a traffic reporter can also give you a sense of, well, how serious is this? Is this going to be cleared up soon?
Which was a big deal the day Interstate 85 caught on fire.
Yeah. I was working it when it blew up. We could see it out the window of our conference room at the time where we were located. We could see it.
And I get a call of, the interstate's on fire. What?
You know, in a genuine traffic crisis, it's kind of nice to have a team of humans on your side who are looking at all the alternate routes to see which ones actually work, rather than just trusting what Waze is suggesting, which is going to send me through a neighborhood.
Trying to tell people, all the workarounds. Like for me, that was the route I came in the morning anyway.
There's still a hunger for a human connection, and a traffic reporter can provide that human connection. There's been sort of a comeback of things created by human beings, artisanal breads and craft beer and things like that.
And as a former radio guy, I love the altruism of that. But I'm not going to kid myself. Radio has a lot of competition. The audience is slowly shrinking, and they're probably not coming back.
Today, far fewer stations are doing traffic. They're certainly not doing traffic to the extent we were doing it.
But even as the FM listening audience slowly tunes out, the data that traffic reporters collect is still valuable.
A couple of years ago, Total Traffic signed a deal with Iteris, a traffic camera company, to share mobility intelligence with construction companies, the insurance industry, delivery companies, even state departments of transportation.
And instead of bragging about how AI is collecting all this traffic data, in their press release they talk about it being 600 human traffic experts who verify the data's accuracy. And that's pretty cool, especially in the world we live in now. Because AI is never going to build a relationship with a police dispatcher every morning, making the same phone call and becoming friends to get that information passed on. But a human traffic reporter, well, they can do that. I'll see you next time. I guess it's only a matter of time before I did a story about roads and radio.
I think if I was born 20 years earlier, I definitely would have become a traffic reporter. I'd stay out of the helicopters, though. Hey, you might notice we're coming up on 200,000 subscribers, but even more exciting, 800 people contributing on Patreon. If you like this video, thank them.